Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with another Blu-ray update. I've got 10 new Blu-rays to show you guys, 3 Arrows, 7 Scream Factories, so let's get to it. Gonna start with the Arrow releases first. First up is a slasher movie I've been wanting to add to my collection for such a long time, and I'm so happy to finally have it on Blu-ray. It is The Slayer. Look at that cover art, absolutely beautiful. I just love that artwork. As I said, I've been wanting this one for a while. I've heard nothing but good things. I definitely cannot wait to check this one out. The Slayer. Next up is another slasher film of which I'm happy to finally have an official release, because up until now I've only ever owned an unofficial release of this film on DVD. But Arrow finally released it on Blu-ray, and it is The Mutilator, also known as Fall Break. I love this one. This is definitely a favorite among slasher fans for those of us who have seen it. It definitely has some pretty high reviews, you know, in regards to slasher fans. It's not the greatest movie, of course, but I think this one pretty much gets by based on the kills. Some good gore, some good creativity in the way that the victims are killed in this one. And it just seems to be a popular one among slasher fans. So glad to finally have it on Blu-ray in my collection. The Mutilator. Continuing with the slasher trend, yet another Blu-ray release from Arrow, and it is Madhouse. Really love the cover on this one as well. Now, I don't remember if I did see this one. I believe that I did, probably on the VHS days. But I can't be positive about that. You know, reading the synopsis, it definitely sounded familiar to me, but if I did see it, I don't remember too much. Sounds very interesting. This also seems to have some favorable reviews, so definitely interested in checking this one out. Madhouse. Moving on to the Scream Factory releases now. First up, I got The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Actually watched this one last night. It was the first time watch for my wife. She has only ever seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the remake, so I wanted to introduce her to, you know, the first sequel here, and she loved it. She actually did. I have to say, you know, we were eating dinner a little while ago, and you know, out of the blue, she said, she's like, oh, I really liked that Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 last night, and you know, she got a kick out of, you know, the humor in it. She liked the fact that it was definitely different from the original, which she finds to be pretty scary, and yeah, she definitely found this one enjoyable, and I do as well. I love the opening scene in this one on the bridge. Definitely one of my favorite opening scenes in horror, especially in a horror sequel. So anyway, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, Scream Factory release. I was able to find it with the slipcover, so that's great. Happy to have that. Next one I got here is Class of 1984. Another one with fantastic artwork. I love that cover art. Definitely some of my favorite cover art, I think, out of, you know, all the Scream Factory releases. This is definitely one of my favorites. Just absolutely amazing. Look at that. But yeah, finally got this one. Been wanting this one for a while. I do own the old Anchor Bay DVD of Class of 1984, but been wanting this since it came out on Blu-ray. Just for whatever reason, you know, hadn't picked it up until now. But glad to finally have it. Class of 1984. Next we have Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions. Awesome movie here. I've had the DVDs for a long time and been wanting it on Blu-ray. Love the cover, you know, just as I do most of the Scream Factory releases. As you guys know, I've mentioned in other videos, I am a Clive Barker fan. I've read a lot of his stuff, and I did read the short story that this movie was based on. The short story is called The Last Illusion. And I have to say, the movie definitely, you know, brings that story to life. Clive Barker has actually directed Hellraiser, Nightbreed, and Lord of Illusions, despite a lot more of his work being, you know, recreated on screen. Those are actually the only 3 features that he's actually directed of his own work. So you can definitely see his touch in this film, and it's definitely one that I'm glad to own on Blu-ray. Lord of Illusions. Next is the Scream Factory release of a very creepy film, and this is a movie that I actually at one time had in my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. I haven't seen it in a long time, which is probably why I didn't include it in my most recent top 20 favorite horror films list, but I'm sure that once I rewatch this, it may make its way back into that list, because I always remember enjoying this one. And it is Session 9. Just love the setting in this one, love the atmosphere. Really good, creepy movie. It takes place in a real asylum. It was actually filmed, you know, in the actual asylum, rather than being filmed on a set, so that kind of adds to the experience of the movie. Nice little mystery to this one, and yeah, just a really great film overall. Session 9. Next is one from Scream Factory that I haven't seen. It's still fairly new. I believe this movie came out in 2016. It's made to look more like a retro type horror film, but again, it was actually made or at least released in 2016. And it actually stars Barbara Crampton. And it is Beyond the Gates. Now, this just sounds really interesting. I had seen this come up on Amazon or whatever from time to time, and looking at lists of Scream Factory releases, I would see this title. But I really didn't know anything about it, so I kind of passed it by. But, I happened to see a picture of the cover, and it looked pretty good. And when I read the synopsis, I realized, wow, I need to have this film. Like, I need to have this movie. And the best way to describe it, based on the synopsis, is it's a horror version of Jumanji. A group of people playing this horror-themed game. I guess it's a video game, a VHS board game. And I guess it pulls them into an alternate or virtual reality type world, I guess. Again, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going by the synopsis. Sounds pretty cool to me. Can't wait to check this one out. Beyond the Gates. Next up is the Scream Factory release of Poltergeist 3. Now, I picked up Poltergeist 3 because I know it's an unpopular horror opinion, but I actually prefer this one to the original and Poltergeist 2. I know this is usually pretty much the least liked in the series, but for me, there's just something about it that I've always enjoyed more than the other two. Now, it's not to insult the other two. I do enjoy Poltergeist 1 and Poltergeist 2, but I love the high-rise setting in this one. I love the mirrors. There's just something about it that just always stood out to me. And what's interesting is I grew up watching the original Poltergeist more than the sequels. But as I've gotten older, I've just learned to appreciate this one so much more. And when I saw this cover, I saw it in person. I bought this in a store, and I saw this cover, and it was just way too cool to pass up. I needed to have it. I actually left Poltergeist 2 behind. They had that as well, which was also a Scream Factory release. I actually left that behind and decided just to get Poltergeist 3 and told myself, I don't need Poltergeist 2. This is the sequel I like most. I can leave Poltergeist 2 behind. But guys, I didn't leave Poltergeist 2 behind. I actually went back today and bought Poltergeist 2. So I bought Poltergeist 3 yesterday. Decided I was gonna, just go with that one, leave 2 behind. And of course it just bothered me. Being the completist, I should have known I needed to have it. So went back today, picked this up, Poltergeist 2 the other side. Again, not insulting the movie at all. I've just always preferred 3, over this one. Cover art is great though. It really is. And there are some, some definitely some memorable scenes in this one. So I am excited to own it on Blu-ray. I have all 3 of the Poltergeist films on DVD. And I say 3 because I don't have the remake and I've never seen the remake. So I don't know if it's good or not. But, I have the 3 original films on DVD. And now I have the sequels on Blu-ray. And for some reason, I don't think I have the original Poltergeist on Blu-ray because there's been really no special edition of that. So I guess I'll kind of wait until somebody does something with the original and have to pick that one up as well. But here it is, Poltergeist 2, the other side. So that's it for this update, guys. I'm sure you'll agree that that's some pretty awesome stuff right there. Look at those covers. And just the movies alone, all pretty good movies in my opinion. Hence why I picked them up. So anyway, leave me some comments below. Let me know what you think about these films. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.